The cause of Elizabeth's death remains a hotly contested subject. Before her death, Elizabeth refused permission for a post-mortem to be conducted, leaving the cause of her death forever shrouded in mystery. But there are few details that may have caused her death. Hi, welcome back to History Rediscovered. Remember to support our channel, please subscribe. In this video, we discuss what may have caused the demise of our lovely Queen Elizabeth of England. We are all familiar with the iconic image of Queen Elizabeth I of England, who reigned from 1558 until her death in 1603. Her portraits show a slight body lost in extravagant dresses and magnificent white ruffs framing the pale face. Elizabeth I is one of England's most well-known monarchs. She was the daughter of the infamous King Henry VIII and his second wife, the illustrious Queen Anne Boleyn, who was executed when Elizabeth was just 2 years old. Elizabeth succeeded to the throne in 1558 upon the death of her half-sister Queen Mary. England had become a major world power in every aspect, and Queen Elizabeth I passed into history as one of England's greatest monarchs. The premature deaths of her younger half-brother, King Edward VI, in 1553 and her older half-sister, Queen Mary I, in 1558, left her as Henry's only surviving legitimate child and paved the way for Elizabeth to become the queen that year. She would reign for 45 years down to 1603, making her one of England's longest reigning monarchs. During Elizabeth's final years, with her health gradually deteriorating, close friends passing away, and beauty fading, she started to suffer from bouts of melancholy and what we would call in the 21st century, depression. Firstly, let's examine Elizabeth's fascination with makeup and trying to look eternally young. Elizabeth never married, though she was courted by many individuals, including some of the most eligible bachelors from Europe's nobility, notably Francis, Duke of Anjou and Alençon, a member of the French royal family and the brother of King Henry III of France. She always wanted to look her very best, and keeping with this image of herself, Elizabeth tried to retain her youthful appearance as she grew older. She turned to the usage of makeup to keep looking beautiful. Makeup has always been in existence since the 16th century. You could even say certain royals of the past had quite the toxic relationship with such makeup. One such royal was Queen Elizabeth I, who is known for her usage of very thick layers of makeup in a bid to sport skin as white as snow and as pale as possible, something that the English elite idolized at that time. During this era, the standard of beauty for female was very white, pale and smooth skin. Why did Queen Elizabeth I want to smother her skin in so much of the stuff in the first place? Aside from the beauty ideal attached to a pale complexion, the royal was also trying to hide skin that featured a lot of smallpox scars. On October 10, 1562, Elizabeth had a high fever and was struck down with a bad case of smallpox. Smallpox was an extreme disease in the 16th century, with many people much contracting it. At that time, there was no bring around or vaccination for smallpox, and about 30% of the victims died because of it. Though surviving the nasty disease, it left her with permanent scarring scattered across her visage, blemishes on her bark. This not only altered her physical appearance, but would leave her vulnerable to constant criticism and judgment, especially because of the fact that she was a royal. Since smallpox was raging through the 1700s, beauty remedies for scars were needed, as some as possible. Determined with a desire to cover imperfections and to disguise the substantial scarring, but to achieve this perfection, Elizabeth turned to Venetian ceruse, a cosmetic composed of large amounts of white lead and vinegar. Something that she applied to her face and neck. Thanks to science, we now know that lead is a toxic metal and a very strong poison. It is a substance that is not safe to be applied onto the skin and can lead to hair loss, skin deterioration. High levels of lead may cause anemia, weakness, and even death from prolonged lead poisoning. This would have likely corroded the skin. The frightening thing is that the absence of these symptoms does not mean that poisoning is not taking place, since the symptoms occur only when the lead in the blood has reached critical levels. It is said that she was the entirely monarch that constantly took a far-seeing time to get ready. As her skin deteriorated, it is said that she would layer on more and more, reaching a coverage that was 1 inch thick towards the end of her life. To make matters worse, the queen would have her makeup applied once a week and would leave it on for the duration, allowing the lead a chance to completely soak into the skin. Lead wasn't the only suspect, because the queen used some other toxic substances. When Elizabeth did have her makeup removed, historians believe that she may have used a concoction of eggshells, alum, and mercury. Side effects of being gradually poisoned by mercury include memory loss, irritability, and depression, symptoms which the Queen in fact experienced towards the end of her life. Not to mention that the mercury would have likely slowly eaten away at her flesh. She also wanted to have her lips as red as possible. The lipstick was made from cinnabar, a very toxic mineral containing mercury. She believed, as did many others during the Tudor and Elizabethan periods, that lipstick was magic, but also that it could ward off death, and so, Elizabeth applied more and more lipstick whenever she was sick or whenever she wanted to. When they found her dead in her chamber, it was said that she had a whopping half an inch of lipstick caked on. The way she used to remove makeup wasn't safe. People at that time would say that her face became soft after makeup removal, but basically, it was peeling one layer at a time because of the substances she used. All these caused wrinkles, aging, and the deterioration of her health. Did depression contribute? Towards the end of her life, Elizabeth began to suffer from bouts of melancholy following the deaths of several of her close companions, including her long-serving lady-in-waiting Catherine Howard and former favorite, Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex. In March, Elizabeth fell sick and remained in a settled and unremovable melancholy, and sat motionless on a cushion for hours on end. During her final days, Elizabeth expressed regret about ordering the execution of her cousin, Mary Queen of Scots. Sir Robert Carey recorded that Elizabeth shed many tears and sighs, manifesting her innocence that she never gave consent to the death of that queen. Elizabeth refused to rest. She believed that if she lay down, she would never get up. She stood up for 15 hours with her lady spreading pillows around the Queen. She eventually collapsed. On March 24, 1603, Elizabeth passed away. Possible causes include cancer and pneumonia, but Elizabeth's use of toxic substances on her skin for years contributed to her declining health. Elizabeth Southwell, a lady-in-waiting, reported that the Queen was haunted by visions of her frail body, and that a playing card with a nail through its head was found on the Queen's chair toward the end of her life. Elizabeth Southwell also reported that the Queen's corpse was so full of noxious vapors that it exploded in her lead coffin. Southwell proved to be an unreliable source after she converted to Catholicism following the Queen's death. One more thing, blood poison may have happened. Just a few days before Elizabeth passed, doctors at that time advised her to take a risky procedure because she never took out her coronation closed chain in the 44 years of her reign, which drove the ring into her flesh. The doctors said the ring had to be removed through surgery, but the operation wasn't done because she passed a few days later. With the advancement of technology and science, people are more aware of what they use on their skin and body. Unfortunately, it wasn't the same for our forefathers and mothers. Bless Queen Elizabeth, because her reign will go down in history as one of the best and longest.